everybody, and welcome to episode 133 of the Ron and Brian podcast. I am Ron, as always, joined by the only man I want to deck my halls, Brian. Brian, how are you this first week of December, my friend? You seem a little busy. Is this a good time? Is this a good time to do the podcast?
I'm sorry, Ronald. I did not realize that we were live.
Sorry about that. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, spectacular. It's a special time of year. One of my favorite days of the 365 segments of the Earth's rotation around the sun. One of my favorite days is always the traditional lighting of the Rockefeller Center tree.
Yes.
This year was like every other year. Thousands of people thronged. If thronged is actually a verb, me and about, I would say a couple, tens of thousands of my closest friends all went to Rockefeller Center. I was over on 48th and 6th Avenue to watch the tree light up. Took my mask off only a couple times to have some of that wonderful hot chocolate from Magnolia Bakery around the corner. Some dude coughed on me, and then some lady spit in my mouth when I yawned. Other than that, it was just a spectacular day. The tree lit up, Mariah Carey singing along with it. It was memorable.
I mean, they did a good job making the tree look good compared to how it looked when they first put it up. It was a little rough looking.
I'm starting to think they invested in extensions, like much like an OnlyFans model. I believe that they added some extensions to the tree.
Like an evergreen weave, if you will?
Quite possibly. I don't know if that's a thing, but it certainly is possible.
Brian, I do have a comment that I'd like you to address because we did talk about it beforehand, and I would love a little Brian tech talk, if you will. Janella was asking, Brian, why are you pixelated on the video? You gave me an explanation. I'd like you to fill in our listeners about this.
I'm pixelated because the feed that you are currently watching is being broadcast from Ron's house. So in live time, my video and audio is transporting from New York City down the I-95 corridor to Ron's house just inside of his bunker outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Then it is immediately being turned around and sprung back out internationally. That delay that is happening from my broadcast center to Ron's house is what's causing the pixel.
There you go.
Pixelation.
And also, we understand now why you are in HR and not IT. But a valiant effort, nonetheless. In the meantime, Brian, let's get moving with some drinking.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week. Pleasure.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
Brian, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm going to hold this right up here for you. I dove deep into the archives. What you are looking at here is Bear Bait from a brewery that I'm a big fan of, coming out of Virginia. This is Licking Hole Creek Craft Brewery. Bear Bait is one of their premier sours. What I like about the brewery Licking Hole, other than the name for obvious reasons, it's a water-conscious, biologically friendly farm brewery, which carefully crafts Belgium-style beers while growing their own hops, barley, and other adjuncts. And those were just some words I threw together. I hope it can make what?
What's ironic is Bear Bait was also your nickname when we would go out to the clubs in college.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you something. How many free drinks did you get?
I don't remember. That's how many drinks we ended up getting.
Thank you.
So what type of beer is this, by the way?
It is a sour, which is blended with lactic acid, forming bacteria that lend to big notes of freshly cut lemon wedges, which are then blended with blackberries to create a tart, crisp, fruity, and beautifully hued libation to keep me hydrated.
All right, take a sip of that sour and let us know how you like it.
Oh, it's fucking delicious.
Nice.
I love a sour beer. Much like I love my women's sour, I love my beer sour.
Very nice. Very nice. This
Ron,
week,
what have you got?
so this week I'm going with our good friends at Great Lakes Brewing Company out of Cleveland, Ohio. This is one that I drink often. It's not a new beer for me, but it's one that I love. The Edmund Fitzgerald Porter, clocking in at a solid 6%.
Now, Edmund Fitzgerald, is he not the valedictorian of your high school graduating class?
You would be incorrect. It is, but it is also my favorite song. One of my favorite songs is the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So I like the song and I like the beer.
Now, would you like to explain to me what the Edmund Fitzgerald is?
You are not familiar with the Gordon Lightfoot song "Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald"?
If it makes you feel any better, I don't even know who Gordon Lightfoot is. I don't know if it's a person, a singer-songwriter, or a Canadian trio power metal band.
Gotcha. Edmund Fitzgerald was a ship that sank in the U.S. Many years ago, and I believe all of the men on board were lost.
Oh,
so the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald is the song about that.
So it's just a boat that went down? How many people were on the boat?
It was probably like 70 or 80 people, I think. It wasn't your Titanic type wreck, but it was, a bunch of hardworking men that went down with the ship.
Now I have a question for you. You're telling me that this boat had an accident and 70 to 80 men died.
Well,
is that what you're telling me?
It was they were trying to make their passage during a storm, and they did not make it.
So 70 to 80 people die, and they get a song, and now a beer, correct?
I mean, are you gonna make me give you an exact number?
No, what I'm going to say is how many people died today from the coronavirus, and how many songs are going to be written, how many beers will be named. Now is the time for action. America, we must stand, unite.
This is not going to help my argument any. It was a total of 29 men. The entire crew were lost when the Great Lakes freighter sank in a Lake Superior storm on November 10th, 1975.
29 is Chicago's hit rate on over a weekend during the summer.
Listen, I will. This is my task. This is my task to you. Is before next week, listen to Gordon Lightfoot, Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I would play a little bit of it, but as we know, that would get us taken off the air.
I would think so.
You hear?
And we don't want that to happen again.
No, we don't. All right, time for This Week in Racism.
This
Week
in
racism.
I don't know if it's the holiday season or the pending Biden administration, but only a couple of racism stories this week, Brian.
We beat it. We defeated racism.
We might have. So going out to the West Coast, Lake Oswego, Oregon, a black student is suing her school district, its superintendent, and a former board member for failing to act on multiple instances of discrimination. The student alleges to have endured insults about her hair, cyberbullying, racial slurs, and harassment when she played on her school's basketball team. Lake Oswego made the news back in August when a black family with a Black Lives Matter sign in their window received a racist letter from one of their neighbors, and back in February of 2018 when a group of 8th graders from Lake Oswego Junior High said that they were called racial slurs on a regular basis. So, great little town they've got out there. And then going to Georgia, Byron, Georgia to be exact, a white woman faces assault charges after threatening to shoot 2 black kids that she claimed were trespassing. 52-year-old Patricia Compton does not own the land in question, but keeps some of her animals there. 12-year-old Caleb Barnes and 13-year-old Ethan Hollis were riding bikes through the neighborhood when Compton confronted them with a gun and threatened to shoot them. She told the police that she was acting in self-defense, which they dismissed because she was not in danger. In addition to charges for aggravated assault, she also faces charges for child cruelty and terroristic threats.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good at all.
I wish I had a photo queued up of her. I don't, but she looks like the kind of person that you would think would be a redneck keeping animals on property that isn't theirs.
I do recall in the shared email string that we prepare for the show, you did send the message to our producer Matt Beaker and say to him that you wanted a photo of her at your ready during this. Did he not?
Matt dropped the ball, unfortunately. And you know what? We've been working with Matt for a while, and we gave Matt a second chance. Matt has disappointed us in the past, and I guess he is just going to continue down that path of being a bit of a disappointment. But we will soldier on, as we often do here at the Ron and Brian podcast.
But how many more opportunities do we give him? At what point do we not sit there and set out the word? I mean, there are a lot of people working from home who have the skill set to be a podcast producer.
But we don't pay him.
We do it for school credit.
I understand, but he's not going to school. He just, I don't even know why he does it.
But if he were going to school, we would be willing to fill out a letter that he could give to his school to say that he was working for us.
Unless we forget, our previous intern died after drinking bleach after the president suggested it. So we don't get clearly the best and the brightest applying, but we will do what we can, my friend. In the meantime, let's air some beefs.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Real quick, Brian, I noticed you were tipping back a Ron and Brian shot glass. What were you shooting to get your whistle wetted?
Oh, I've got a little bullet bourbon.
All right. I'm not a fan. You like that?
I do like it.
Right.
I feel like as I've gotten older, I've developed more of a taste for bourbons. It's a little sweeter than your average whiskey, as it is stored in cane barrels or rum barrels or
sugarcane barrels, maybe.
They mix maple syrup in it. I'm not sure, but I've started to enjoy bourbons of late. Yeah. You know what I've also enjoyed?
Your Fleshlight?
No. My Rage Against the Machine Bernie Sanders shirt.
Oh, nice. Old school Bernie Sanders. That's
old school. This is
60 then.
This is Daddy right here. Daddy Sanders. Oh, I would let that man finish on my back if I had to.
So what's your beef this week, Brian?
Oh, the how do I put this mildly? Because I want to target it to one specific person. But it is overall. No, I'll tell you. I mean, it's the greeter at the New York Blood Center on 41st Street.
Got it.
The lack of customer service that this woman displays. This was the second time that I have encountered her while donating. Drum roll, please.
Oh my
antibodied rich convalescent plasma. As those that follow me on the Facebook saw earlier this week, I did go back to the New York Blood Center. I did donate my plasma to assist those that are currently being hospitalized with the terrible plague of the coronavirus. Anywho, so the way it operates now is when you get there, there are signs at the door. Please stop, wait, we will come to you.
Okay.
What they want to do is they want to do the temperature screening. Then they want to ask you the important questions of whether you've traveled, whether you have donated blood to in Haiti, whether you have come into contact, blah, blah, blah. Point is, I get to the door. I have a 12:50 appointment. I get there at 12:48. I like to cut it a little close. Yeah. I like to be early, but not enough that I'm wasting my time. That's the way us, the ballers operate. So I get to the door. I stand there. She is behind the desk with her head down like this. She looks up, lifts her head, looks at me. We make eye contact. We make fucking eye contact, and then she does this.
Looks back down. Wow.
I would say a solid 30 seconds go by. Then I see this.
So she looks
again.
up, looks back down again.
The third time she picked her. Now, at this point, I am just furious because I know what she's doing. She's on her phone.
Your body rich blood was boiling at this point.
Fortunately, my antibodies can exist at a temperature above 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So this way, they were not boiling off, converting it to steam, which is technically a higher level of energy than boiling water. So after the third time, I am just locked. I am locked staring at this lady. I am standing at the door. Literally, I've practically have my forehead pressed up, and I'm just staring her down, like barely trying to avoid blinking. Finally, she gets up from the desk and slowly walks around, takes the 5-6 steps up. There's little 3 steps over, of a staircase. Then she comes to me, opens the door literally a quarter of an inch, shoves out the little thermometer beamer, hits my forehead, asks me my questions. I come in. She's slowly walking back to the desk, sits down, and this is where I had enough. She picked up her phone and continued to type. She was typing a text message. And I wanted to be like, lady, I have an iPhone. I know that screen. I recognize it. I have this. I see the same screen. She finished sending her text, and then she walked me through the intro.
Wow.
The level of the fact that at no point is there anybody in that place that says you cannot treat, like, these are people volunteering their time to help out others, whether those people need blood transfusions, plasma transfusions. In some cases, a truly elite person will walk in and be willing to donate their antibody-rich plasma. Just saying. But it was just, I was so fucking livid. Like how can you work in a customer service front-facing role and literally treat the people like garbage? Sorry, that's my beef.
All right, that's a good beef. I like that beef. Mine seems relatively minor in comparison, but
let me guess. Can I predict?
Go for it.
You did not get the spices you ordered from the spice store in Galveston, Texas.
No, but it is a shipping dilemma. My beef with FedEx this week.
Wait a second. Did they leave the package outside the door, not inside the alcove, so that it would be dry when it rained?
So I will say this. Our FedEx delivery person is the only one who doesn't leave the packages inside the vestibule.
Okay.
Only one. But regardless, so we get pet food from Chewy.com. Great folks there. Love Chewy.com because we have a couple animals that need prescription food. So one of them we had gotten shipped and it was taking a couple of days. This usually gets here quicker. So I go on the Chewy website and it says your delivery has been rescheduled per your request. And I'm like, seemed a little shady. I'm like, I don't think someone would try and steal cat food, but I certainly didn't request the delivery to be rescheduled. So I call into Chewy and she looks at it. She's like, that just means they don't know where the box is. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? She's like, yeah, if FedEx is running behind, she's like, what's the weather like there? I'm like, the weather's fine. There's no issue with the weather. She's like, yeah, if they're running late or can't find a box, then they'll literally just say, I've had people, get a message saying that they tried to get delivery and their business was closed and they're at a home address. She's like, FedEx just doesn't take responsibility for any delays whatsoever. So they will always put an excuse down for the customer.
So instead of saying, hey, we're having a problem delivering, they say that you decided to reschedule the delivery?
I had to reschedule the delivery. That had never happened.
Wow. FedEx, you know what it is? There is a running theme. Poor customer service in America. Yep. FedEx used to be the gold standard of delivery.
They were. And
used to be willing to pay $23 to ship a FedEx envelope because you knew it would get there at 9:00 the following morning, even if you could send it by the postal service, which would normally deliver 40,000 votes for Joe Biden overnight.
But I mean, I will have to say the one company that doesn't let me down lately is the post office. I have to give them credit for that.
And that's because of the reorganization that took place this summer under the guise of President Trump and his designated Postmaster General.
Louis DeJoy?
I was going to go with Harvey Scheinmeister, but okay. Well, I think your answer is probably a little bit more accurate than mine.
You know who else delivers, Brian? You do when it comes to NFL picks. Got it.
2-0, baby.
Credit for 2-0. The first one you were back on the Tua time train, even though I don't think he played. You took Dolphins -7. They won by 17, 20-3. This was probably one of your closer ones. You managed to get in on that Seattle Eagles game when the line was only -5. So you were not fucked over by that 2-point conversion the Eagles made late in the game. Seattle wins by 6, 23-17. But really keeping your perfect record by the skin of your teeth.
It needed to be done, and I'm glad that I'm the person that did it. However, Ron, I would like you to step up to the podium right next to me in first place, because we also had another person on this podcast go 2-0. Ron, you looked at the at some lines last week and said, I think Vegas has this wrong. You saw Raiders -3 against the Falcons, and you said, come on, the Falcons, let's give them a little bit more respect. Falcons winning 43-6. Not even close. Yet, on the complete opposite side, you saw Jacksonville Jaguars getting 7 against the Browns and said, you know what? This game's going to be a heck of a lot closer than that line. Browns won by 2. Ron, you went 2-0 for the 12th straight week. How does it feel?
I mean, it feels pretty damn good, Brian. I have to ask you the same question. How does it feel?
Feels like money. It feels like money. Do you know how much money I've made off of my NFL picks this year?
How much? Talk to me.
A lot.
Okay.
I'm not for obviously for IRS tax purposes. I would prefer not to disclose any financial transactions that could be or may not be taking place in a Grand Cayman's offshore bank account.
But more importantly, who do you like going into Week 12? Ooh. Who are your NFL locks of the week?
I see some locks here, and this is one of those master locks that you put on your high school locker. You spin it a couple times to the left, spin it a couple times to the right, and you know that your belongings are safe and sound. I've got the Raiders -8.5 against the Jets. I think we're going to have an 0-6 team in New York. Scratch that, I mean New Jersey for the first time in history. Also, liking Kansas City Chiefs laying 14 against the lowly Broncos. Let's hope Denver can actually field a quarterback this week.
That would be nice.
Ron,
I like the 49ers at home. Not really at home because they can't play in their county right now. I believe they're playing in Arizona. But they are a 1.5-point underdog against the visiting Buffalo Bills. Cardinals have been playing good football as of late. So I like the Niners plus 1.5. And Green Bay going up against these hapless Philadelphia Eagles in Green Bay on the frozen tundra, -8.5. I like Green Bay.
Nice.
Excellent question from Billy, though, Brian. Have you made back the money that you may have lost at a particular expensive night at a strip club?
No.
Fair enough.
No, I have not.
So, Brian, what do we have on tap to talk about this week? A lot.
Well, first, I would like to ask, what are you watching?
What am I watching?
What are you watching?
Nothing new, to be honest with you. Watched the end of The Undoing. The final episode was on Sunday. I need to.
How did it make you feel?
It was okay. It was. I was hoping for a more interesting finale, but it was very
okay.
In the end. I'm trying to think if I've been watching anything. Nothing too much. Been starting a lot of shows which are really bad and just not keeping up with them.
Did you watch The Mandalorian?
Actually, I did last night catch the episode 5, which I think may have been the best episode of this season.
But was it a good episode and was it worth watching?
I think it was a good episode. I think it actually finally moved the story forward. It did again kind of get a little formulaic from some of the earlier episodes, but I mean, they at least continued the story that we've been hearing since the first whatchamacallit, first season.
Now, I'm a little slow.
Okay.
I don't grasp a lot of the subtleties. Would you be able to explain to me how the story progressed? Because you're not the first person that mentioned this. You're not the first person that said that they saw progress, but I don't see it. I did not see an improvement in the progression of the arc of the Mandalorian.
I mean, I guess for me, you did get some fleshing out of the backstory of the child, and you now know the child's name. The child actually has a name. Grogu. You now are understanding why his force powers are very intermittent, and again, he has to find another Jedi now to be trained. But again, I think there was a little bit more exposition. You find out a little bit more as to why this is happening.
I think that the first 4 episodes barely moved the story forward. And the highlight, in fact, the only way this story moved forward was that, we learned what the Baby Yoda's name is. And no offense, I prefer Baby Yoda.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry. I don't know that I'm going to remember Grogu or Gorgu. I don't remember the name. Grogu,
you got it right.
Gorgu the Greek.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like the only aspect after watching 55 minutes was that Baby Yoda cannot be trained by somebody, by another Jedi, because Baby Yoda has an emotional attachment. Not in a gay way, please. For those Republicans watching this podcast right now, don't get uncomfortable here. There's nothing wrong with what we're talking about. Slow your roll. Was that he has an emotional attachment with the Mandalorian, and that he will only. It just was like, I watched 45 minutes for fucking this.
Listen, I think again, I like this episode better than I did the first 4. I mean, and a lot of action.
That doesn't say much.
Well, listen. Well, what are you watching then that's so good?
Oh, I went low this week. I watched a documentary over on Hulu called 6ix9ine, The Saga of Daniel Hernandez.
Tekashi 6ix9ine? You watched?
I was obsessed with the little guy.
How was it? I've seen it on Hulu and I have not watched it.
Okay. I've walked a path so that you don't need to. Let's put it that way.
All right.
I did enjoy the story. I like the fact that it had the arc of that here was a poor kid growing up in a very bad neighborhood in Brooklyn, and how did he rise from where he was with seemingly very little skills in society, and then moved. Janelle just really put something that really hurt my feelings up. And then how he literally rose to be the #1 pop star in the music world. And the different tactics and the trolling, and how this guy really focused and was obsessed with the visual aspect of what the product he was putting out, rather than necessarily just working on the craftsmanship of the art of the music. Also, what I found interesting was that, and I guess it's part of the whole SoundCloud rapper generation, where these guys are, and also women, not being sexist here, but they don't focus on a goal of writing an album and putting out an album, but it literally is a culture where write a song, put it out, promote it. 3 weeks later, put out another song. 2 weeks later, put out another song. Just keep throwing out product until eventually something sticks, until you start to develop a fan base. Much like doing a podcast every Thursday night.
Very similar. Very, very similar.
I watched it over the course of 2 nights, and I'll tell you something. I would not recommend it to absolutely anybody. I found it interesting.
It's not on my list. I will tell you that.
And then for Janelle, and only for Janelle, I watched episodes 1, 2, and 3 of season 2 of Brookmere, which was the show that that she's been trying to get me to continue through as an ode, because she is such a loyal, close friend of the podcast. I sat there and said, you know what, Brookmere, you're here. I'm going to give you an hour and a half of my life.
And how was it? That's another show that I've been meaning to watch, but have not.
It's not bad. I find it interesting. It does feel like it starts to get repetitive after a while.
Okay.
But I'm going to you know what it was? I wanted a show that I could surf my go through my emails while it was on in the background. And what I found was that I was paying more attention to Brockmire than I was my laptop.
All right, well, that's a good sign. You know what big business is these days, Brian? Election fraud.
Running America. Oh, I was going to say running America.
Well, I guess running America. If you are the president and you feel that the election has been stolen from you, you can make some money. As President Trump's political operation has raised more than $170 million since election days.
Fucking ludicrous, America. Do you understand how many schools could use that money? Do you realize how many
And what people I don't think realize, if you read the small print, if you are donating less than $8,000, then the campaign actually doesn't need to use your donation towards the actual lawsuits that they are filing.
It says 60% go to Trump's super PAC.
Correct.
And the remaining 40% goes to the RNC. So
they're just literally paying off overdue bills with people's money because they know. I mean,
Trump doesn't pay his bills. Trump has a history of not paying bills. So basically, what he's doing is he's going to take this money to pay off. He's going to pay his family huge consulting fees, and he's going to use it to create a whatever his Trump channel news channel is going to be.
So we talked about some of these lawsuits last week and how they were being torn apart. The Wisconsin suit that Sydney, what's her name?
Poitier?
Brought in Wisconsin.
Sydney Cole.
Got torn apart for just being completely illegible, referencing attachments that weren't there. But I think the coup de grace, if you will, is this was in Michigan yesterday. Everyone's favorite hair dye spokesman, Rudy Giuliani, showed up with a woman by the name of Melissa Carone. She is an individual who has made the rounds previously because she's the one that was a poll worker working in Detroit on the Detroit's vote counting operation. Said she worked a 24-hour shift. Apparently as IT support for Dominion's machines there. And then on November 10th, she had filed an affidavit claiming that she saw some ballots being illegally scanned multiple times. She suggested that vans meant to bring in meals for election workers were hiding tens of thousands of ballots instead. And so this was actually, her affidavit was included in a lawsuit filed by the Trump campaign when they tried to stop the certification of election results in Wayne County. However, Wayne County Circuit Judge Timothy Kenny denied the request, saying that her and other witnesses, quote, interpretations of events is incorrect and not credible. So nearly a month later, here she appears with Rudy Giuliani testifying before the Michigan House and the Michigan Senate Oversight Committees. Should we go to the video, Brian?
I think we need to.
It's a couple minutes long, but it is definitely worth a watch.
Are we talking hot librarian look here, or is that just me? Because I'm seeing a woman who's about to spank my ass because I'm about to bring back a book that was due last Thursday.
I think maybe drunk librarian, but we shall see.
The poll book is completely off. Completely off.
Off by 30,000?
I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000. That poll book. Why don't you look at the registered voters on there? How many registered voters are on there? Do you even know the answer to that?
No, I guess I'm trying to get to the bottom of this here.
Zero. There's zero.
So my question then is if the
Guess how many? Wait, what about the turnout rate? 120%.
Let's let Representative Johnson ask his question.
so the poll book number. There's two things that could happen here. Either the poll book number, if ballots were counted multiple times, there's two options. Option number one is that the poll book numbers are not going to match.
They don't.
The actual. Not by thousands and thousands of votes. That's not what we see right now.
Take a look again. Take a look again.
Option number two is that they essentially were filling in names of people who didn't vote.
Dead people too?
So is that?
Let's let
is that
Representative Johnson ask his question, and then when
I
he's
thought that
done,
was his answer. Okay.
Well, I guess that's my question here is why we're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes. That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
I'm just saying the numbers are not off by 30,000 votes. So
I know what I
saying
saw.
that they're filling in.
I know what I saw, and I signed something saying that if I'm wrong, I can go to prison. Did you?
okay,
I'm just trying to ask you a legitimate question here.
Yeah, let's let Representative Johnson ask his question, and then don't interrupt him, and then if you want to respond to it, that's fine. Did you have more, Representative?
Yeah, I guess I just want to keep following back up with the poll book. So are we saying that the poll book is either wildly off or that they are filling in names?
It's wildly off, and dead people voted, and illegals voted.
Okay.
So that's my answer.
I think
She's drunk. She's absolutely drunk. She probably, I'm going to say this. I am right now more sober than she is.
I mean, the one thing she managed to do was to get Victoria Jackson trending on Twitter the other day because everyone was like, we love Victoria Jackson's new character.
I love that. That's awesome. Listen, first off, what is this? This is a Michigan State.
This is the Michigan Senate Oversight Committee, the Michigan House, holding hearings into alleged election fraud. So she is testifying in front of Republicans. The guy that she is arguing with is actually a Republican state representative who is talking to, and he's even trying to lead her down.
Yeah.
The
fact that Rudy at one point reaches over to try to tell her to shut the fuck up, and she just continues barreling forward. The level of drunk privilege that exists on the far right with QAnon. I no idea what this woman's political opinions are, but she's hammered. It's like, do you know how many registered voters are there? 0.
So if there's
zero,
there's zero. And then she also, he asked her a question later on, like, why, if I believe it was another Republican on the Oversight Committee asked her, like, if there is so much rampant election fraud, why have so few people come forward? And she's like, well, the Democrats just destroy our lives when we do this. I've had to change my phone number, and I've had to, I've lost friends, and I've had to shut off all my social media. And within like minutes, people were like, well, here's her Facebook page. Here's her Twitter page. Her phone number is still the same. Like, she's just, again, it's
what I am shocked by
to go on.
I'm shocked by the blatant lies.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I don't trust any of these people. I don't think that, I think politicians are some of the worst people that exist. What I cannot understand is the fact of just like you just said, I've had to, delete all my social media. It's like, no, it's right there. Like you're still
a Facebook picture of you with Rudy Giuliani this morning.
Yeah, it's like, do they not realize that like some of this can be researched and attributed back to them?
And listen, I would be willing to hear about election fraud if there was evidence.
I want to hear about it.
I would even be more inclined to believe just sheer incompetence from people.
Sure.
These things. Like there's a race in upstate New York that right now there's a separation of 12 votes between the candidates. And there's 809 votes that are currently being, fought over in court as to whether they can be counted. And the reason that they're being fought over is like stupid bullshit. Like, well, we put sticky notes on these ballots to say whether they were counted or not, but then the sticky notes fell off. So like, if our democracy is dependent on fucking Post-it notes, that's an issue, and we should know about it.
Yeah.
So like something like that where it's a 12 vote differential, and you've got 800 votes in question because people didn't follow procedures. I'm all about hearing for that. When you've got 130,000 vote victory in Michigan with no evidence except for someone who is not a great witness, and Rudy Giuliani sitting next to her, I don't know. It drives me crazy.
Illegals voted,
and that's
dead people voted.
Illegals voted. I
will say this:
blacks vote in this election.
I will say this: if I was on a business trip to Kalamazoo, and I'm staying at a Courtyard Marriott, which, by the way, if you're in, if you're traveling, you definitely look up Courtyard Marriott, join their membership program. What is it called, Ron?
Marriott Bonvoy.
Make sure Bonvoy. Is that a term, or is that like an individual? Like, I've heard of Bon Voyage. Is that where it's coming from?
Word they made up and everyone hated it.
You want to join their Courtyard Bonvoy Marriott program, so you can earn rewards. Get earned for free room service and credit at the hotel bar. But I'm saying to you, if I was on a business trip,
right,
and I checked in on at 7:45. And I got to my room, splashed on some Dracar Noir on my face, and then I went down to the hotel bar to order myself a ribeye, and she was sitting at the other end of that bar, cutting off the bartender as he started to ask her questions about what brings her to town. Do you know there's dead people?
So you would shoot your shot, is what you're saying?
Oh, no, I would meekly sit at the other end of the bar eating my steak, trying to avoid eye contact at all points. Oh, my goodness.
Well, there was actual election fraud that may have been discovered this week, Brian. Unfortunately for the Republicans, it's on their side. A Republican Florida attorney is under investigation for allegedly registering to vote in Georgia while being a Florida resident, and he also instructed other voters to do the same. So this attorney is Bill Price. He apparently was speaking to Bay County GOP members in Florida on November 7th. And he basically said to everyone, we need to go to Georgia. We need to register and we need to vote there. And he apparently told the group that he was moving to his brother's address in Hiram, Georgia, in order to register to vote in the runoff for the 2 Senate races. He encouraged them to do the same. When contacted by the press afterwards, he said, he was joking. It was taken out of context. But then the newspaper went a little bit further and found out that he actually did file to change his voter registration to Georgia to his brother's address.
But I have a question for you. Legitimately speaking, what was the cutoff in Georgia for registering to vote in the runoff?
I believe they've got another week or so.
So if he voted in Florida and then moved to Georgia, wouldn't he be technically able to vote in the runoff?
If he moved to Georgia, but instead he still lives in Florida and he has changed his address to his brother's house in Georgia.
So how can we technically prove that he did not move if he's claiming he did?
I mean, if he hasn't changed, he basically, when you have video saying, I'm going to falsely register under my brother's address, and then he goes and falsely registers under his brother's address, and apparently other people, he gave his brother's address out, so apparently they are finding other people in Florida are registering to vote in Georgia with his brother's address. It becomes a little problematic.
Smells like fraud. I
mean, at least we finally found some. At least we have some evidence here.
What I got a kick out of this past week was the Rhonda McDaniel, the head of the RNC. How close did I get to the name?
You were, I think you nailed it, Rhonda McDaniel.
Oh, let's give me some credit.
Yes.
She was giving a speech to Georgia voters. And there was a woman in the audience who raised her hand and said, said, what is the purpose of us going out to vote when it's already been decided, because we know the Democrats are going to steal this, just like they stole the presidential election. It's already been decided, so why should we even bother to vote? And the look of panic on this lady's face as she realized that all of the nonsense that Trump has been spewing, and don't get me wrong, do I genuinely in my heart believe that there were Democrats out there trying to cheat? Absolutely. Do I think that there were Democrats out there that were doing anything they could do to help steal the election towards Biden? Absolutely. Am I okay with it ethically because I wanted Biden to beat Trump? Sure, 100%.
Absolutely.
My point being is that they're not angels. They're politicians, and they're looking for power grabs so that they can personally make money off of it. So let's wipe that clean. But the fact of watching this woman realize that all of the bashings that Trump has done about trashing elections over the past month has now put the Senate suddenly in jeopardy as to whether the Republicans are going to hold on to their majority. I mean, the Democrats have an uphill battle. They have to win 2 Senate votes, 2 Senate races in a very Republican state. It's going to be close.
It's a state that Joe Biden carried by 15,000 votes. So
out of how many? Like a couple million. Like it's a small percentage.
But if the Democrats can get a similar turnout and Republicans stay home, it can very easily, be the Democrats' race. So, I mean, the look on her face was like, oh my God, actions have consequences.
Yeah.
Eating these people a line of bullshit for 4 years now.
They're actually going to believe it, and now it's going to bite us in the ass.
Right.
That was kind of emotionally the high point of the week for me.
So last week obviously was Thanksgiving. People traveled for Thanksgiving, even though people were asked not to. And so Dr. Deborah Birx came out and basically said in an interview on Sunday with Face the Nation that if you did travel over the Thanksgiving weekend, to just automatically assume that you are infected and get yourself tested.
Yeah. What truly I found disturbing is that 1 million Americans traveled via air over this past holiday weekend. Ignoring the fact is we all know where they're going. They're going to family gatherings. They are traveling out of state. They're the.
You all right? You need to pull it together for a second.
The lack of concern for others, and it's odd because I went down to Philly on Saturday to see you and your wife, and what I saw on the train, I took Amtrak Casella because that's how I roll. I'm a baller.
Yep.
On the ground. I don't go up in the air. On the ground, was seeing families that were dropping off loved ones at the train station. And it's such a shame to see that none of these people could not stay home, that they felt this need to travel, to leave their state. It was really disturbing to witness as I was on the train going down to visit you and your wife.
When I walked through the train station looking for you, I was struck by the number of people that I was walking in close proximity to.
Yeah.
To pick you up and take you into my home.
What I enjoyed was spending a lot of time in your living room, watching TV and sitting there talking to your wife.
Well, we sang at times.
Yes.
It was a joyous occasion. We did hit, I don't know if you saw this before we went on the air tonight, Brian, we have hit a record 14 million coronavirus cases in the United States. We managed to pick up 1 million cases in the last 6 days. That is the type of effort that you have to respect.
We lost 3,000 Americans yesterday because of coronavirus.
We are back to a 9/11 a day level of deaths.
And how many songs is Gordon Lightfoot going to write about the fucking coronavirus? I guarantee you he will write none. He will write not a song.
Maybe we can reach out to him. I'm not even sure. Is Gordon Lightfoot still alive? I don't know.
I don't even know if Gordon Lightfoot is a person or whether it's a 5-piece banjo quintet out of Tennessee or Georgia.
Well,
ding, 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 ding.
Let's get to some lighter news, Brian. Going down to Kentucky, where a Kentucky mayor was arrested for driving under the influence after falling asleep in a White Castle drive-thru lane and crashing into a utility pole this past Tuesday night.
Now that takes a lot of nerve. Because if I'm not correct, wasn't it in St. Louis earlier this year that a guy fell asleep in the drive-thru of a fast food place and was eventually shot to death by the cops?
Not in the drive-thru, just in the parking lot.
But wasn't he asleep in the drive-thru?
Not in the drive-thru. He went to the drive-thru and then he parked, but he was asleep in his car in the parking lot.
And this woman sat there and said, "You know what?
I'm going to one-up him.
I got this. Hold my beer. I got this." But she's an elected official. This woman is a mayor. One would think that she would have a higher standard of behavior.
Apparently, she told police she had dinner and 2 apple martinis. And those apple martinis will get you every single time.
60% of the time, they get you.
Quick update from Billy. Gordon Lightfoot is 82 years old and still alive.
I think I would nominate Billy to replace Matt Beaker.
Might be a good death pool pick for next year, Gordon Lightfoot. That would get.
Well, I thought you were going to say Billy. I was like, what the fuck? Hold on a second.
So just a heads up, we are getting to the end of the year. We will be crowning a winner in the Ron and Brian Death Pool, but we will, within the next week or so, be looking for entrants into the 2021 Ron and Brian Death Pool. So keep an eye out on our social media pages. We will put it up on Facebook, Twitter, the Instagram, the whole 9 yards. We want to try and get some more players this year.
And we're going to assume that those of us who were slightly disappointed at our results in the death pool will be able to start afresh. These totals don't roll into 1 year over another.
Starting fresh, right from everyone starts at 0. So
how the fuck did Tekashi 6ix9ine get killed on the streets when he got let go?
And listen, Brian, I think you, of all people, can understand what it's like to be at 0 for a very long time. Because that's what you were till Eddie Hamlin went. And again, you keep talking to Tekashi 6ix9ine, there was like 13 people that picked him. So it would really not have helped you as much as you would think.
I'm in 4th place.
You are.
Does somebody ahead of me have Tekashi?
Everybody ahead of you has Tekashi.
Oh, I thought I was being very...
You weren't that clever, my friend. It's like the people that picked Bill Cosby and Alex Trebek. A bunch of people had them.
What really hurts were the people that went out and voted for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, because we all knew that was going to happen. The people that didn't pick her in our pool are the people that were like, I can't live in a world in which we have a 6-3 Republican Supreme Court. I just can't do it. I can't even hope for it.
Only one person had picked RBG in the death pool.
That's because, our fans have morals, have ethics, have a high standard of character.
And I won't say who that individual who picked RBG was, but that individual may live in the same house that I do. I know. I was shocked as well when I saw that.
Whoa.
But anyway.
Whoa.
Keep an eye on the social media for the 2021 Ron and Brian Death Pool. In the meantime, Brian, let's talk monoliths, because I know you are excited about all these monoliths that are popping up now.
What's going on with the monoliths? So earlier this week, a 3-sided metallic, I think they said that it was made out of silver, about 10 feet tall, monolith, meaning it is a single object, 3 sides made out of silver.
Thank you.
Boo, 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 boo. How close was I to the Close Encounters music?
I mean, you were somewhat close, but the monolith is actually 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Fuck. Damn it. Damn it. So this thing shows up in in the middle of a Utah, what's a ute? In a Utah, state park?
Something like that. I mean, it was really like a very random location, like some out in the rocks.
But this thing had been up there for 4 years.
According to Google Earth, yes.
According to Google Earth, they have photos from 2015 of the spot where the monolith was located. It's not there. Fast forward to 2016, and it's there. So this thing has been sitting out in the desert for 4 years, and nobody has reported it. Suddenly, it disappears in the middle of the day. A crew of 4 people are seen approaching the monolith, breaking it apart, and taking it out. Apparently, it is a wood-based center, so it's not metal all the way through. Then, was it last week in
Romania?
Okay, I was going to go Belgium. It's okay. In Romania, a similar sized and dimensional. Help me here. Similar. All right, we'll go with that.
Similar.
Absolutely similar specifications. A similar spec was found in Romania, and then 2 days ago they found another one in California.
Yep.
What is going on? Is this a Banksy art project, or is this the first sign of contact from alien life? Ron, what's your take?
I mean, I feel that aliens would not be using plywood to build these. So I feel this is some sort of internet prank. This kind of stuff the kids like.
For 4 years?
Well, I think, I think it could be a case of, people on Reddit somewhere saying, hey, let's put a monolith somewhere where people really wouldn't find it and see how long it takes for someone to find it. Because like everyone kept saying about how remote this place in Utah was, where the monolith was. But then once, and everyone said, oh, it's so hard to get to. But then once the news got out that this monolith was there, well, the park had an issue with all these people going out to see where the monolith was. So clearly it wasn't that tough to get to. Because like there was someone, photographer that took photos of the people that knocked it down. Like when he got there, there were other people already there that ended up leaving, and then he was there taking photos. And then this crew of 4 guys show up and knock it down and take it away. So I don't know.
Yeah, but 2 people show up to your house on a daily basis, you and your wife. But if we put it out on the news that this was a place of public interest, I guarantee more people will show up to your home.
But it's also a lot easier to, drive up on a road than to like hike through rocks. Like I wasn't going to go find this monolith. That seems a lot too much like work.
No offense, they could put that shit in my backyard. I wouldn't even look for it.
They could put it on the hotel patio across the street from you and let it play salsa music, and you wouldn't walk over there. But yeah, I mean, listen,
that's a great reference.
I think, I think it's, do you think it's aliens? What's your take on it?
Oh, I absolutely think that it's a art collective that is doing this as a performance art piece. My theory in terms of extraterrestrial life is that statistically there has to be other life in some other galaxy, in another universe. I cannot believe that, this is the only planet that is just, spaced a perfect amount from its star to promote life. What I do feel is the fact that these universes are so spread out and are so far apart that the odds of there being intergalactic planetary intergalactic communication and traveling. I mean, we haven't put somebody on the moon in 50 years. Yet
Right.
somehow we're putting the burden on these other life forms to be able to travel galaxies. I'm not buying it.
I don't know what to tell you, my friend, but yeah, I think it's just shenanigans.
Yeah. Oh, did you just call shenanigans?
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans, Jerry.
So, Brian, you'll be happy to hear this because I know we were following this case earlier on. So, in the Bob Kraft massage parlor prostitution arrest, there has finally been justice.
Is it safe for me to go back and get a full body, full contact massage? Is it safe?
Apparently, it is safe. So, much like as we see injustice in this country, do you think we know that Robert Kraft, his lawyers managed to get him out of any charges that he was? Do you think any of the men that patronized this massage parlor were fined or did jail time in any way?
Not a one. Not a one.
One. The person that has been hit the hardest, it would seem, is one of the masseuses that Kraft allegedly visited, Shen Mingbi, who pleaded guilty to one count of soliciting another to commit prostitution. So that was so she could get her phone and passport back to her, as well as her bank account unfrozen. She now has to pay $31,000 in fines, bail, and fees, while Robert Kraft does not have to pay.
Wait a second. So you're telling me that the woman who's being held here against her will and is being forced into prostitution to get her passport back, she just got fined $31,000, but Robert Kraft, who went to this place twice in one day to get a hand job, he walked away clean.
Well, the ironic part, Brian, is that it apparently was not a sex trafficking situation. She got her passport back from the Jupiter police, which had taken it after she was arrested, so she could not leave the country. But it has been determined that even though they were trying to do this major sting, thinking that this place was some sort of major human trafficking ring, it was just your basic run-of-the-mill brothel.
Oh, it was? It was just a...
Yeah.
It doesn't make it okay. I think these women were being forced into prostitution.
It's possible. It's possible. But at the end of the day, the men with money and power do not get punished. And in your thoughts on this, the victim ends up having to pay $31,000 in fines.
That's a crime.
And
that's a crime right there.
America.
That is a fucking crime. And I'm not saying that all sex workers are there with a gun to their head. Some of them are seeing it as a perfectly plausible way of making a lot of money in a short period of time. Those that I've spent time with, they've made a lot of money in a very short period of time. Listen, Cue Billy with a $900 in one evening reference. I deserve it. I'll take that hit.
I was going to say, I heard of a stripper that made $900 in one night.
I think I spread it out over a couple, maybe two or three, in all honesty.
Nights or strippers?
Ladies over the course of I would say I was probably there a good 4 hours.
All right.
You do a lot of good in life. You donate a lot of your convalescent plasma.
Right.
You help out your neighbors.
You do.
And nobody remembers that. What do they remember?
They remember
They remember the time you spent $900 that you really didn't have to be spending in a strip club.
It's a shame. What else do we have on the agenda this week? One last story here. So the actress formerly known as Ellen Page announced on Tuesday on social media that she is transgender and will now go by the name Elliot Page.
All right. Congratulations to her.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, I will likely never meet her. I will likely never come into contact with her. So the effect that it has on my life is complete zero. I will say that if this is something that makes her happier, and if this is something that brings her some degree of peace in what is overall a miserable existence on this planet, that we are all suffering through. If it makes her a little bit, if it makes her life better, I'm all in favor. Fuck! If it makes Elliot happier, then more power to him.
Get your pronouns right.
He, they, him.
Now, to Netflix's credit, they have already updated all of his credits on anything on their streaming service.
Good for him.
That he has acted in. And they did confirm that he will be back in his role for season 3 of The Umbrella Academy.
I did not know that he was in The Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
I have not watched Umbrella Academy because it does not feature any Brooklyn-based colorful-haired SoundCloud rappers.
All right, fair enough. Anything else for this week's edition of the podcast that you wanted to go over?
You know what? There's a couple stories that I wanted to hit, but you know what? I think
we
it's
didn't.
Only a.
We got to hit some obituaries before we get out of here. At least one.
Are you going to make me talk about Dave Prowse?
Well, we did lose Dave Prowse, the actor inside the Darth Vader costume for Star Wars, dying at age 85.
Luke, I am your corpse, but I'm not your daddy's voice.
And then top dog rapper Lil Yace, shot dead in California at the age of 25.
Do we know what Top Dog is?
I'm assuming that is a song that he wrote.
I thought that was going to be the rap group that he was in.
Maybe. I don't know enough. You know me. I'm not into the kids' music.
Well, it was confirmed when local rap blog The Fizzler also said he was saddened to learn that he had been shot and killed. His label, Highway 420 Productions.
Yeah.
Trash. He was a legend in the Bay Area rap scene and held it down for San Francisco. Unfortunately, when he found out that the 49ers were not going to be able to play in Santa Clara Stadium, he said, "Hey, man, just shoot me."
That's very interesting. And probably one of the bigger passings of the week, WWE legend and Hall of Famer Pat Patterson passing away at the age of 79, the very first Intercontinental Champion and also the inventor of the Royal Rumble.
The only Intercontinental Champion that I respect is Tito Santana.
I hated Tito Santana. I was a Greg the Hammer.
Really?
I was a Greg the Hammer Valentine fan.
Was that because he had the long blonde locks?
Long flowing blonde locks. It was just. I remember when
the figure 4 hammer leg lock or whatever it was.
I remember going to the Glens Falls Civic Center years ago when I was a kid watching Greg the Hammer and Tito Santana fight, and we had front row seats. It was one of those things where they came out, fell out of the ring in front of me, and Tito Santana literally punched Greg the Hammer's forehead with like the extended knuckle until he cut him open. Just a blood fest.
He's cut open.
And also,
how old were you at the time?
I mean, I would have been 12 or 13 at that point.
That is peak wrestling fandom years.
And then I just remember we were waiting outside the Glens Falls Civic Center for the wrestlers to like walk out and leave. And like, here comes, Greg the Hammer. And he's got his sunglasses on. He's got his head all bandaged up. He's selling it. He's like it's tough for him to walk to his car. And, people are like, some people are cheering him, some are razzing him. And then he flipped us all off and got in his car and drove away. Fucking awesome. The best times of my childhood.
Oh, that's awesome. I have a question. How did you know where to stand outside the arena? Like, how did you know where it
wasn't a big arena. There was like one area where the locker rooms let out into.
Got it.
You just went there.
Got it. All right. I've always wondered that. How some people always know where to stand. Like, where's the stage door at venues? And I was like, I have no clue.
Yeah. Also, Pat Patterson considered himself the first gay superstar in the WWE.
He was gay?
He was. He actually wrote
I had no idea.
2016 autobiography.
You want to know why, Ron? Because I don't find that somebody's sexuality defines them. I don't feel that is the only fact of their character, of their essence, their soul that makes that I need to burn into my memory.
Fair enough. So you don't want to applaud people for being trailblazers in their sport?
Oh, I absolutely do. I just don't want to feel stupid because I didn't know that.
Fair enough. Anything else this week, Brian, or should we just shamelessly plug the Patreon as we always do right around this time?
If there was a way to plug our Patreon, the After Dark that we do every Thursday at 9:30 Eastern Standard Daylight Time. So we're coming up in about 20 minutes. If you are not a member of our Patreon community, listen, we do this podcast for free. We do not charge for it. It is our gift to you, the viewer, the listener. If you want to listen to the audio, absolutely. Go to iTunes, go to Google Play, go to the podcast store, go to SoundCloud or every other outlet where it's there. If you want to watch this, we are here on YouTube. We are here on Facebook. We're over there on Twitch, which kind of a fringe if you ask me.
We did have one viewer on Twitch this week, so kudos.
We don't charge for it. And you know what? Kudos to that person for sitting there being like, I like Twitch. I'm going to use it. Fuck it. I don't care that other people are on YouTube. Fuck all that. I'm over here on Twitch. Probably is a great, I'd say that they probably have a better view on Twitch. You know, they can stretch out. They can, make themselves
You're probably
comfortable.
still pixelated on Twitch.
That's because my video has to go from
Yeah,
New York
we
City
understand.
all the way down to Philly, then all the way over to Twitch's headquarters, which I believe is in Taiwan.
Wow.
In the basement of a poker parlor.
That is a hike.
However, all of this that we do, it is our gift to you. A lot of people reached out to us and said, how can we give back? How can we thank Ron and Brian? How can we thank you guys for everything that you do? And what we did was we set up a Patreon. We set up, content that is behind the paywall, that is for those people who are comfortable cracking their wallets open to say thank you a little bit, sometimes a lot, sometimes just enough that just makes me cry.
Right here.
For as little as $5 a month, for as much as $10,000 a month. If you want to come in at the diamond level, I literally will put on my knee pads, get on my knees, and perform oral sex on you. Don't, I never say but, say yes and. If you would like to thank us, if you would like to kind of get exposed to the After Dark, Ron, how would you describe After Dark?
I mean, it's the more risque stories that we don't cover here on the podcast. It's a looser, more fluid conversation, I think. And don't forget, once a month, we do have our After Dark pajama party where we do allow you, the Patreon subscriber, to come on the show with us. So we had a great pajama party last week.
That was so much fun.
And it was just good times had by all. So go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. In the upper right corner, you'll see the button to click to become a patron. And we will see our Patreon subscribers shortly at 9:30. We will see everybody else next week, Thursday, same time, same bat channel. Brian, anything additional this week?
I love you, and I love everybody watching. I love everybody listening. This world is a shit show, and anything you can do personally to improve our existence slightly, make somebody else's life better, pay it forward. Don't ask for anything in return. Just do your part.
All right. We will catch you all next week.